Hey everyone, how's it going? So, while talking to a good friend of mine, a very senior, a very experienced animator, we were having a deep conversation and he was telling me about how unhappy he was with animation, with his career, and this was all to do with one person or at least one job that he had a really bad experience and it absolutely destroyed him and his passion for animation. So I thought I will do a video today for all of you, specifically to talk about how to keep motivated if you are an experienced developer, animator, artist, all that good stuff. I have had my share of bad experiences with bad people that they became very personal after a while, and I actually ended up overcoming them by focusing on a few aspects that I'll talk about next. So let's get to it. Alright, so welcome everybody. For those that don't know me, those that are new to the channel, first and foremost, welcome. Thank you very much for being here with me. My name is Harvey Newman and I like to share my passion for animation, game development, and many more things here in this channel with all of you. I've been in the industry for nearly 2 decades, and obviously over the years you experience a bunch of different things with a bunch of different people. And one of the things that I believe, at least when I started, was very evident, is that there is a lot of grumpy developers out there. And I never quite understood it because I fully thought that when you work in games with other developers that are equally as passionate, that you just basically throw yourself into the work in order to make it as best as possible with a smile, with good vibes, all of that goodness. But what I found instead is that when I started, at least in the company that I was, the company was very extreme in the way that they had dealt with employees, but for sure, there was lots of grunt and just basically unhappy developers, right? Just basically grumpy people, I like to call them. And to me, it kind of started affecting me more and more the more I worked on this first job. The company no longer is around, but they were very much about crunch. They were very much about making sure that people worked like absolutely like to the bone. And obviously the creativity and the output of work was not very much because it's impossible for you to maintain a very good work at a very high level by being pushed and by working 10 hours a day. It's impossible. Like, with this as a creative industry, therefore you can only be creative for so long, and creativity is not a button that you switch on and off. And a lot of companies sometimes, at least when I started, didn't seem to understand that. They felt very much like that corporate business mentality where if you're here to work 8 hours, I need you to output creatively 8 hours and that's it. What this kind of led me to actually feel after about 2.5 years of working there, nearly 3 years, is that I was unknowingly feeling incredibly depressed about my situation, right? I was feeling very much like this is about me, and if everybody else was working really well because everybody else is doing their time, then it must be me that I have a problem and I need to actually be a better animator, a better person, and all that stuff. And this is basically the line that you cross as an animator, as an artist, that becomes really dangerous, because as soon as you think that it's all about you and you are the problem, then it becomes a much bigger issue. Because no matter how many things you try, no matter how many things you do, everything feels like it's not good enough. And then it doesn't help when you have a boss, which I had at the time, that very much doesn't appreciate the work that you do no matter how hard you try, right? So it starts to feel like no matter what you do, you're always going to get it wrong, and then you as a professional, you are absolutely rubbish, and perhaps you should not be in animation. That's kind of like, summarizing this situation. Now, I eventually left that job and started a new job that was the complete opposite. And I was very thankful for that, because it took me a good 2 to 3 years of being in that job to really become normal once again. I remember that when I started my new job, we used to have playthroughs of the game and playtests, online playtests, playing with each other. This game was actually Crisis 3, and I had a lot of fun, but I was feeling guilty because on my previous job, I was very much pushed to basically be working all the time. So my vibe was very much like, why are we not working while we're playing games? Even though we are working in games and testing is part of the job, right? Other things like having a coffee, or chillaxing for a little bit and just having a conversation for 20 minutes. All of that made me feel guilty, made me feel very much like I need to actually get out of here. I need to go back to my desk and do work. What if anybody sees me? All these other things. Now, I never wish for that to happen to anybody because it feels very much like you are, I mean, it must be the feeling that you get when you are in prison, right? When you get told what to do, how to do it, and when to do it at all times. And that basically creates a whole lot of issues mentally for you as you go forward. Now, in reality, for me to shake that feeling from that specific job, it took me a good 5 years, if not more. And what I swore to myself was that I would never allow any company to make me feel that way ever again. And if I was actually feeling like that even a little bit, I would leave that company, I would find another job, because my health and what I feel and my creativity are absolutely everything for me, because if I don't have that, I am not happy, right? So after talking with this friend, as I was telling you guys in the beginning, I basically got the same vibes as I had when I was in this first company that I started working. And it's incredibly sad to actually be such a professional, such a achieved person that has done so much, and yet feeling really like you're not really worth it, right? And this is how I felt. This is how he felt. So I would like to actually kind of talk to you guys a little bit about how do you go about making yourself come out of this rut, of this circle that you feel in when you actually feel this way. So for me, what worked first and foremost was to basically value myself, and going back to that idea before I was working in the games industry, going back to that idea of like working for myself and doing shots that I liked. So I started actually working on my spare time, any spare time that I had, I started making shots that I liked, right? Because I felt like that was the only thing that I could control, and having that control, that creative control over something, it's everything. Like for all new animators out there that are not in the industry yet, please don't take that idea, process, the show reel, building the show reel, creating your own shots for granted, because a lot of the time you lose that when you get into the industry. So for the senior animators out there, same thing. Go back to your roots and start animating, start doing things on your own spare time, or even better, get together with other professionals or other people at your job and then build something that actually is just a group that kind of like puts their heads together and builds something. So I've worked in a few companies before that they have this basically these brainstorms, or this week or 2 weeks of basically you don't do any work, you just do prototyping or ideas. And what you do is basically pick a few different people, so an animator, a coder, a designer, a character artist, and you guys kind of like huddle together, and then you start working on something that is exciting to you guys. And I never seen people lit up so much as when they are doing those projects. So one of the studios that I worked in that had that was Lionhead. That was really, really awesome. And whoever basically got their idea that it was successful to make it into a future game would get a t-shirt, get some swag, all that stuff. And the other one was DICE. Same thing. We actually used to get, every Friday, we used to get like an afternoon to kind of like work together with other people to actually come up with cool ideas that hopefully eventually would get into a game or get made into a feature. And then what this does, it gives people that are experienced a chance to maybe shine on another discipline that perhaps you don't have a chance to actually shine on. So if you're an animator and you want to be a designer, if you're an animator and want to be a character artist, sometimes you can be like, look, I'm an animator, but I would like to actually do some character art for this. I would like to do a model here, a model there, see how I fare. And you can just go ahead and do it and showcase how good you are. Perhaps this leads to another opportunity. So going back to that mentality of doing things for yourself, of your own, gives you creative ownership. And creative ownership is a big part of the puzzle that helped me get unhooked from this idea that I am no good, right? Because as soon as I started seeing my work kind of flourish and like be good, and people telling me, man, this is really cool, that's when I started kind of like getting the respect of myself that I feel like I needed, right? The second thing is definitely talk with your peers as a senior person, as a lead person. Talk with your peers, talk with people that are in the same position as you or above, and then ask them simple questions and be honest. Like in this industry, we have a tendency to be quite closed, because we are all introverts. And this is a problem sometimes, because if you find yourself in this mental state, but you're not really speaking with anybody, it can make the problem worse, right? So speak with a peer, speak with somebody that has more experience than you, and ask them and tell them that I'm going through this right now. Is this just me, or is this everybody? Did you go through it? And if you did, then what is your advice for me right now, right? Sometimes if you find somebody really, really good, somebody that is your friend, somebody that is looking out for you, they'll straight up tell you, look, the problem is not you, it's this job for these reasons, right? So perhaps it's time for you to look out for another job, right? Maybe it's not a fit for you specifically, but it's a fit for everybody else. Things of this nature start flourishing, and these things make you think, make you take decisions, make you actually kind of like be a bit more clear. If you're anything like me, when you are in your mind, you keep going around and around in circles, and you get to no answer whatsoever, right? One question leads to another question, that leads to another question, that leads to another question, but you get no answers, right? So it's only speaking with somebody that basically has been through what you've been through, or at least has as much experience than you do, kind of gives you that clarity so you can move forward from the point that you are right now, right? And then ultimately, the third thing that actually made me like feel better is definitely socializing. And I'm not talking about socializing outside of work. I'm talking about socializing at work, because the feeling that you should have working for a good company, it should be that you find minds that think like you and you can connect with, right? If you actually hire in a really good company, guaranteed you're gonna find at least 2 or 3 people that you can connect with that think like you, are nerds like you, like the same things as you, and you can just nerd out and go out and just enjoy yourselves as much as possible. And this is crucial, because what happens is when you are working, when things are stressful, when you have to work 10 hours because you have to ship a game or whatever it is, you can count on your buddies for you to actually ever so often have to go and just, I don't know, play ping pong, or go and, read some comics together, or go and buy some comics together, or nerd out about the last episode of Game of Thrones, or whatever it is that you guys like. You can just nerd out about it a little bit, and just those 10, 15, half an hour, those minutes allow you to kind of disconnect from the pressure of work or whatever is going on in your mind. Become a regular person, socialize, and then go back to work and do your thing, right? That is really important, because if you're plugged in at all times, 8 hours a day, every single day, and you don't really talk to people and don't socialize with people at work, you very much become like this machine that is always working. And we are not machines, we are social people, and we need to socialize in order to disconnect a little bit from all the hard work that we do. And that is my advice for all the experienced people out there that are feeling a little bit down nowadays. I hope you guys feeling better. I hope this helps you, and definitely keep strong, because these things are normally temporary. And whenever you move to another job or a better place, you most likely not even going to think about what happened. Or if you do, you're probably going to think about it like, so glad that I'm over it. I don't know why I actually stayed there for so long, right? So feels really good, feels like you achieved something, feels like you're actually moving forward, and that is the feeling that you should have at all times. And that's all I had for you guys this week. Cannot go away without thanking my Patreons. Check out my Patreon page in order for you guys to actually see the perks and support this channel a little bit more. Also, definitely check out my mentorship if you actually want to learn more about animation mentorship. The mentorship is for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're just brand new to animation, or if you are a very senior person, want to brush up on your skills. The mentorship is there, and it's very personal, and it's one-on-one. And that's all I had. I hope you guys have a great week. Until next week, stay well, stay safe. Peace.